Have you ever sat in a retrospective that just went in cycles, debating some tiny process tweaks too way long, or venting, again, about some company rule you know will never change? And we've all been there. You walk out feeling like you just burned time instead of making anything better. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to spot those retrospective time traps, the moment they come up, and exactly what to see to steer your team's energy back to what actually matters. It all comes down to two quadrants most teams get wrong, and a bit of wording that turns frustration into focus. We've covered the two quadrants that require systems. Quadrant 1 gets executed, Quadrant 3 gets escalated. Now let's talk about Quadrant 2 and 4 combined, because these are low priority by definition. But here is why they still matter. They consume time if you mishandle them. Now, I watched teams spend 20 minutes in a retrospective debating whether to reorganize their Jira boards labels. That's Quadrant 2 item. Team solvable but low impact. I also watched teams spend 15 minutes complaining about corporate security policy that prevents local admin access. That's Quadrant 4. Organization dependent and never changing. Both are retrospective time destroyers if you don't have an efficient handling mechanism. So let's start with Quadrant 2. These are improvements your team could make, but they don't meaningfully affect delivery. Reorganizing documentation structure or updating team norms that already work fine. Cosmetic changes to your tools. The team isn't wrong that these could be better, but could be better isn't the same as worth sprint capacity. So here is how to handle that. During the retrospective, acknowledge the item. You can say, good catch, this is something we could improve. Then categorize it honestly. This feels like a Quadrant 2 item. We could fix it, but it's not hurting our delivery right now. And then batch it. Let's add it to our quarterly housekeeping backlog. We will tackle a batch of these together at the end of quarter 2, or if someone wants to volunteer to own this outside springtime, they're welcome to, okay? So that's it. Acknowledged, documented, batched, or delegated. What you'll prevent is this. Well, since we are talking about it, shouldn't we just fix it now? That question turns 5-minute discussion into 20 minutes debate about something that doesn't matter. Now, Quadrant 4 is harder because it involves real frustration. These are organizational constraints that team generally wishes were different but cannot change. It could be like corporate policies, procurement limitations, architectural decision made years ago by people who no longer work there. The team isn't wrong to be frustrated, but discussing it in retrospective doesn't change anything. It just reinforces helplessness. So here is the useful decision rule. If your team has discussed the same issue more than twice and no new action or authority has emerged, it's almost certainly Quadrant 4. That's your signal to redirect. So use this 3-step validation framework. First, validate the frustration. I hear you. This policy generally makes your work harder. Second, confirm the constraint. And we will verify this is a corporate security requirement we cannot change at the team level. Third, redirect energy. So our choice is to acknowledge this as a constraint and focus on improvement energy on things we can actually change. Does anyone disagree with categorizing this as a Quadrant 4? That language does 3 things. It shows you heard them, it establishes a reality, and it offers productive path forward. What you prevent is the complaint loop, where the same unchangeable issue resurfaces every retrospective because the team never got closure. Closure doesn't mean fixing the problem. Closure means formally acknowledging that this constraint exists and we are choosing to invest energy elsewhere. So here is the key difference between dismissing concern and efficient facilitation. Dismissing sounds like, well, that's nothing we can do about that, so let's move on. Efficient facilitation sounds like, this is a real constraint that affects us. We've confirmed it requires corporate-level decision-making we don't control. So we are going to categorize this as a quadrant 4, which means we acknowledge it and focus our improvement capacity on things we can actually change. One shuts people down, the other validates their experience while protecting retrospective time. The full framework now makes sense. Quadrant 1 gets 80% of your improvement energy, Quadrant 3 gets formal escalation, Quadrant 2 gets badged, Quadrant 4 gets acknowledged and released. In the next lecture, I will walk you through the complete facilitation process for running this 4-quadrant analysis in your retrospective.